Director Comey's firing by President Trump led to Mueller's appointment as special counsel. James Comey is with us for his first television interview since the Mueller report was released to the public. His memoir, A Higher Loyalty, Truth, Lies, and Leadership, has just come out in paperback. James Comey, good morning. Good to have you here.
Good to be with you.
I'm really interested to hear your take on the Mueller report. We saw that the special counsel in that report detailed 10 instances of possible obstruction of justice by the president. Why do you think the special counsel ultimately decided not to charge him with obstruction of justice?
I think because he was trying to be both principled and fair. He was trying to abide the Department of Justice ruling that says you can't indict a sitting president, and reasoned that if I can't indict a sitting president, I ought not to accuse him of a crime because that wouldn't be fair. Given that I can't clear him, I'll just lay out the evidence for a future prosecutor and for Congress.
But one of the things you said in your book is that you believe your firing was potentially obstruction of justice, and the special counsel didn't go that far.
Right. He just collected the evidence, which if you read it, and I hope folks will actually read it, is deeply concerning. But he decided not to make the call because he thought that wouldn't be a fair thing to do. So I'll just compile it all. And what he compiled is really concerning, especially when you look at the 10 episodes together.
One of the things the Attorney General points to in those 10 episodes is that there was kind of an initiating event that put the president's mindset in, since intent is important. The president thought, this is going to mess up my administration. And one of the things Barr focused on was your reluctance to tell the public that the president was not actually under investigation. The president, not having you not tell the public, felt like, oh my gosh, this is all stacked against me. And that was kind of the initiating thing that made him so paranoid.
Yeah, I heard the Attorney General say that, and I don't think it's a fair summary of the evidence. That may be his motive, but a whole lot of people commit crimes in this country because they're frustrated and they're angry. That isn't the question. The question is, when he did the things he did, was he intending to obstruct justice? He may have a motive to push something away that embarrasses him or irritates him. That's actually not the key question.
Have you been surprised by Bill Barr's summary letter?
Yes.
What surprised you?
That it struck me, especially after I read the Mueller report, as misleading. I'm not suggesting it was intentionally misleading, but it was inadequate to summarize that work.
What was misleading about what the Attorney General said?
Well, it certainly gave the impression that Bob Mueller had decided that he was not going to rule on this question of obstruction of justice, when that's not what Mueller did. Mueller laid it out and signaled to a future prosecutor, after this individual is out of office, you ought to take a serious look at charging him.
You know, the Republicans have said, case closed, time to move on here. Do you think that, do they have a point?
Well, I think they have a point in the sense that the American people now have a clear view of how the president acted. Read the report.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a clear enough view of Donald Trump's character and the way he approaches this office, you now do. It's time to move on to the most important thing we do, which is vote to decide who should represent us as President of the United States.
The Attorney General says he believes spying occurred in looking after the president's then campaign. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I have no idea what he's talking about. The FBI doesn't spy. The FBI investigates. We investigated a very serious allegation that Americans might be hooked up with the Russian effort to attack our democracy. The Republicans need to breathe into a paper bag. If we had confronted the same facts with a different candidate, say a Democrat candidate, where one of their advisors was talking to a foreign adversary's representative about that adversary's interference in our election, they would be screaming for the FBI to investigate, and that's all we did.
So the debate is a semantic one. The FBI was investigating into the Trump campaign, but you're saying they had cause to, and you just wouldn't use the word spy.
Of course. And people just ought to look at the predication for the opening of that investigation. We should have been fired if we didn't investigate this.
But you have tens of thousands of FBI agents on the front lines every day, doing work to protect America, to keep this country safe. And when the Attorney General undermines the integrity of those agents by suggesting they're involved in spying against a president, what does that do to the reputation?
Yeah, it's deeply concerning because ordinary folks will accept what the president says, what the Attorney General says, and that hurts our ability to be trusted as FBI agents in courtrooms and at doorways. So it's a very bad thing.
You know, we were talking about the op-ed that you wrote just a couple weeks ago, and I encourage people to go back and read it.
Where to begin, Norah?
Because you essentially go through, you say, how could Mr. Barr, a bright and accomplished lawyer, start saying these things? You talk about Rod Rosenstein, and then you say, what happened to these people? And they said, More often, proximity to an amoral leader reveals something depressing. Mr. Trump eats your soul in small bites.
No, and I'd like to add to that. It starts with your sitting silent while he lies, both in public and private, making you complicit by your silence. In meetings with him, his assertions about what everyone thinks and what is obviously true wash over you unchallenged. I'm curious to Norah's question. Were you at home mad one day and just say, I have to say something? Where did this come from?
No, I wasn't mad. I was actually kind of depressed watching people of accomplishment, very bright people, act in ways that are shocking. The Deputy Attorney General of the United States quoting approvingly Donald Trump on the importance of the rule of law. Really? And so a lot of folks were asking me, what happened to these people? And I don't know for sure, but I've seen it up close from 4 months of working near Donald Trump, and I've seen him wrap people in this web of deception and delusion, and I've seen it shape them. I've seen some great people stand up to it, but others been pretty...
Explain how that happens. How do you believe he wraps people in a web of deception?
Well, first of all, when you sit with him, he'll just tell lies where he's not asking for your reaction to it. He'll just talk about how he had the largest inaugural crowd in history, much larger than Barack Obama's. And if you don't jump in and interrupt and contradict the president, you feel like you've kind of agreed with him. And these lies wash over you over and over again. Then the next step is you sit at a cabinet meeting and everybody praises the leader. And then the next thing you know, he's attacking the institution you represent. Someone like Bill Barr always said the Attorney General has to stand up for special prosecutors, and suddenly you're not doing that, and you find yourself trapped.
You do point out that the Defense Secretary Mattis did not do that.
Yes.
He was one of the exceptions in that rule.
Right. I
Defense
said
Secretary.
amoral leaders tend to reveal character. In the case of Jim Mattis, revealed sterling character.
The former FBI Assistant Director of Intelligence, Kevin Brock, turned your phrase around on you, though, and he wrote, he himself ate away at the soul of the FBI, not in small bites, but in dangerously large ones.
I don't really have a reaction to that. No. Talk to people inside the FBI, and they'll be better able to evaluate what I did.
But I wonder about that too, John. Do you feel in some level that your credibility has been hurt because Democrats and Republicans have criticized some of your actions and decisions?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
But that
the only thing I'd say to folks
what
is,
you say, yeah.
Sure, just read what I write, listen to what I say, and evaluate it. How are my facts? What does my reasoning seem like to you? If you don't like it, if my facts are wrong, don't listen to me. I don't think they are, though.
I thought maybe we should just end on, because you have a new preface in your book in which you say that you sort of pose the question, are we going to be okay?
Yes.
What's the answer to that?
Yes, because American history shows us that we always have periods of retreat and pain after periods of tremendous progress, and we recover, because there's a ballast in America, and that's our values. The great middle of America represents our values, and they stir every so often, and I hope they're stirring now. I see signs of it, and are going to vote their values.
Yes, back to what you said about the facts. It's been said you're entitled to your own opinion. You're not entitled to your facts. And to your point, read the report and look at the facts.
Yeah, truth is a real thing.
Yes, it is a real thing. Thank you, James Comey. Always good to see you.
Thanks
Great
for
to
having
have you at the table.
Thank you.
The paperback version of Comey's book, A Higher Loyalty, Truth, Lies, and Friendship, is available now wherever you like to buy your books. Got lots of options.